There's only 4 words. This one's for John.
This one's for Pat.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you what just happened. My mouse died, so I couldn't click on my picture to bring me up onto the screen. Jordan Love has just signed a record-setting deal with the Green Bay Packers. It's the biggest contract that's ever been given out in the history of the NFL. And we're going to go through the deal and talk about different angles of it. But I just want to talk really quick about Gutenkest for the Packers, who, for better or worse, was going to have his legacy tied to Jordan Love. He made a move to get Jordan Love, and it was contradicting. And if you remember correctly, Aaron Rodgers wasn't a fan of the draft and the draft selection. And then he goes on to win MVP and then another MVP, back-to-back MVPs for Aaron Rodgers. And then the Jordan Love, it just kind of died down. And it wasn't until last year that he got his first season, and he just absolutely exploded onto the scene. So we're going to talk about all of that. But first, let's talk about the deal. Jordan Love and the Packers agreed to a 4-year contract extension worth up to $220 million. As expected, the deal makes the 25-year-old the highest-paid quarterback in league history. And Jordan Love also receives a $75 million signing bonus, another record, as well as $155 million in guarantees. So Jordan Love is now getting paid the same amount of money as Joe Burrow with the Bengals and Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars. $55 million a year ties those other quarterbacks. And we just did the Only Football podcast and we talked about it. I'm going to tell you right off the gate, right off the bat, I think that Jordan Love is worth every single penny that he's being paid. You look at his numbers of how the season started and that switch that turned on week 9. From week 9 to the end of the season, I believe the number was 18 touchdowns to 1 interception. Jordan Love was just playing at a higher level than any quarterback, arguably any quarterback in the league from week 9 on. Then the Packers, who I believe were 3-6 by week 9, were not even a thought in the playoff picture. All of a sudden, Jordan Love turns it on, and the Packers find themselves going into the playoffs. But that wasn't it. That's not why Jordan Love got this deal, because I said this earlier. I believe that if Jordan Love goes into Dallas and loses that game, that this deal does not get done. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Jordan Love went into Dallas, and he smoked the Cowboys. And one thing was for sure, and that was that Jordan Love belongs in the NFL. He had that moment. Some people crack under pressure. Some people rise to the occasion. Jordan Love played like the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Simple as that. And he went toe-to-toe with the gauntlet the 49ers are in the NFC, who would ultimately end up going to the Super Bowl. And Packer fans still know that they could have won that game, that they lost the game. The 49ers didn't win that game. The Packers lost it. So what does this all mean? The Packers losing a game that could have put them into the Super Bowl potentially if they would have won the conference championship against the Lions, which would have been an amazing game. Well, it means that the Packers were able to do all this in a rebuild year, which is never the case. It's one thing to be in this situation. The Packers weren't supposed to be in this situation, period. They were in a situation where they were like, hey, let's see what he is. We don't know what he is. We think we know what he is. The year before that, Aaron Rodgers got hurt against the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Jordan Love came into the game. That was my moment. I watched him go toe-to-toe with the Eagles, who ended up going to the Super Bowl. And I said, I've seen enough. The year before that, he came in. That was the COVID year. He came in for Aaron Rodgers when Rodgers was ruled out with COVID, and he looked terrible. Okay, so when he came in the next season during the Eagles game, me personally, I didn't expect anything. I was like, well, okay, we'll see. He blew my mind. He looked so good. His passes were accurate. His timing was impeccable. His awareness, the way he was just like one step ahead of the defense, very similar to what we saw in the Dallas game. We saw those glimpses in 2022. Some people didn't watch that game, and that's why there was a lot of people that didn't have that much faith. I even interviewed a Packers fan on my other channel, and I was like, what are the expectations with Jordan Love? And he went on like, look, we've had Brett Favre, we've had Aaron Rodgers. It's time for us to, the writing's on the wall. It's time for us to need a quarterback. You can't just keep doing this forever. And I respectfully disagreed. I said, did you watch the Sunday Night Football game against the Eagles? Right? It takes very little time to know if you have special. And Colin Cowherd makes this point. You can have a good quarterback. It can take you a long time to know. You can have Ryan Tannehill late season resurgence. You can have Jimmy Garoppolo's. You can win football games with plenty of quarterbacks in the league, like Kirk Cousins. Is he elite? I mean, it's a debate. We won't get into it right now. But Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, they are special, right? You saw something immediately when Mahomes took over, and you're like, oh my God, he might be the greatest quarterback ever. This is the type of language that surrounded Jordan Love, in my opinion. After watching him play, he was special. I don't like to overthink these things. A lot of people say, well, what about a sophomore slump, even though he's in year 5? It's his second season, right? This is the same reason that I don't predict CJ Stroud to have a sophomore slump. He's special, all right? I think in a lot of cases, very good quarterbacks can have that slump. I don't expect Jordan Love or CJ Stroud to have them. The NFL is more exciting than ever. You look at the quarterbacks. We still have, the Mahomes, the Joe Burrows, the Josh Allens, the Trevor Lawrence, who just got paid, Lamar Jackson, who just won an MVP. You add CJ Stroud, who could have been an MVP as a rookie. And then Jordan Love and Jared Goff's playing at a high level. Brock Purdy, last pick in the last round. I mean, the quarterback position is loaded right now in the NFL. So let's talk about this deal. Love's representatives informed the Packers Saturday night that he wouldn't be doing any of the on-field work in training camp until a deal is finalized. We call this a hold-in, not a hold-out. He shows up to the facility, goes through the motions. He shows to the Packers, hey, I want to be here, but I'm not taking any snaps until you get the deal done. Whether anyone would want to admit it or not, it was actually the best avenue for both parties that allowed Love to protect himself and for the Packers to protect their investment. It did, however, expose what has otherwise been a lackluster showing through the first 4 practices, with Sean Clifford guarding the majority of the first team reps. If you really want to show how valuable you are, don't play, right? It's like, don't be somebody that announces your arrival. Be somebody that misses you when you're gone. Okay? Jordan Love made the Packers realize really quick what this season will look like without him on it, right? The Packers had no choice. They had to do it. It's very similar to Tua Tagovailoa in that way, although I think the deals are very different, and I can get into that later. with Jordan Love, the Packers shouldn't have ever had a plan B. Like, you don't sit around the table and talk about, should we pay this guy? Should we not pay this guy? These conversations aren't happening. Jordan Love proved, like, yeah, you got one. Pat yourself on the back. You did it. You got one, and there's 32 teams, and not everybody gets one. You found something. Don't lose it. And Jordan Love is going to be probably the future. I'm talking like the next decade. This is a 4-year deal, but expect Jordan Love to be the Packers quarterback for the next 15 years, right? This is the next generation. This is Aaron Rodgers passing the torch to Jordan Love. We didn't know how it was going to go. Now we know this is going to be the future. When the Packers drafted Jordan Love in 2020, they traded number 30 and number 126 with the Dolphins so they can skip the line by 4 spots to draft Jordan Love out of Utah State. Now, at the time, the maneuver was scrutinized considering the Packers were on the heels of an NFC Championship game. Rather than attempting to bolster a roster that was on the doorstep of a Super Bowl, the general manager kept the future of the franchise in perspective and stabilized the quarterback position 4 months after Aaron Rodgers turned 36 years old and finished his 15th season. And I think there's a fork in the road right here, for the Packers. And this is a balance that fans, I think, rarely think about. Fans don't understand all of the decision makings that happen in the office, right? Because all we want is a Super Bowl. But as a general manager of a team, it's not just about putting a team on the field this year. It's about having the foresight to say, this is going to be in the best interest of us 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And the Packers saw something in Jordan Love that they liked. And I remember Aaron Rodgers was pissed off. He's like, how about you get me a wide receiver? We can win the Super Bowl if you get me a weapon. And the Packers said, we're getting a weapon, but it's your replacement. And Jordan Love turned out to actually do that, replace Aaron Rodgers after Aaron Rodgers loses Week 18 to the Lions, which would be his last game as a Detroit Lion or as a Green Bay Packer. And that was a game where if they win, they went into the playoffs. And last year, we give him a go, and the guy starts off, like I said, week 1 through 9, very mediocre. Packers aren't thinking about playoffs. They're wondering if they're going to have to draft the quarterback in the next draft. It's just week 10 through the playoff game in the playoffs that Jordan Love not only makes himself irreplaceable, but gets the highest amount of money in NFL history. If you ever wonder how fast things can change in the NFL, this is a perfect example of that. I mean, for the general manager to make this draft selection in 2020, when the Packers were just coming off a loss to the 49ers in the conference championship game, some people say it's really stupid. It's all about winning a Super Bowl. Like, I understand both sides. I really do. But this was a legacy-defining move for this general manager. The same manner that Brett Favre defined Ron Wolf's tenure as the general manager. In the same way that Aaron Rodgers' performance defined Ted Thompson's time with the Green Bay Packers. Love's forever going to be tied to Gutekunst, for better or for worse. So far, the gamble is paying off. He bet the house, and the Packers won't have to worry who they have under center for the next decade. If they're fortunate, if Jordan Love continues to play, which I think is the expectation for everybody, not just Packer fans, but for the whole entire fan base of the NFL, we all expect the Packers to be good. And we talked about Tua's deal in kind of contrast to this. Tua's got 2 wide receivers that are paid top 5 money because they're arguably 2 top 5 wide receivers. Now, I said arguably, Jalen Waddle probably top 12, but Tyreek Hill, pretty much most people's number 1 or number 2. So Tua having the most passing yards last season, for example, when you throw it to wide receivers that can get 80-yard touchdowns off of a 10-yard dump off, I mean, that kind of, boosts the stat book a little bit. And then at the end of the season, you go, okay, Is Tua worth being paid the highest money? Is he worth Joe Burrow money, Trevor Lawrence money? And I said this earlier. We know that there's multiple avenues to a Super Bowl, but there's really only two. You get a quarterback that's in a rookie contract, he's in a rookie window, and you haven't had to pay him yet, or you have a Patrick Mahomes type quarterback that's so elite, so special that you can afford to give this guy $500 million because he can win with whoever else you can manage to afford after he's paid. But one thing that we know doesn't work is taking a pretty good quarterback and paying them elite money. Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, quarterbacks that are too good to let walk, but should not be breaking the bank or resetting the market. That's what Tua almost did today. No, it's not 55 million, it's 53 million a year, but regardless, it's a shit ton of money for a quarterback that people have questions about. People still wonder. When you watch Tua play, even though the Dolphins offense seems to execute its play sheet and their style of play, and it seems to be flawless, but a lot of it just seems like a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of Mike McDaniel's genius. You don't really see the game and go, damn, Tua is good. Tua is like really, really good. Like, at least I don't. I say the Dolphins offense is really, really good, right? It's different. Jordan Love's out there with Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Tucker Kraft, just guys, right? Jordan Love brought this up 2 months ago. He said, we don't have a wide receiver number one, and we don't need one. Each week, it's going to be somebody different. It's going to be Romeo Doubs on week 1. It might be Christian Watkins, the ball's going to get spread around. But the truth is the Packers really don't have that guy that separated himself as the clear wide receiver one. They don't have a Jamar Chase. They don't have a Justin Jefferson. And they had the youngest roster in the NFL. It's one thing for Jordan Love to come in and try to find himself, right, as a leader, try to get an identity. Who is Jordan Love going to be when you have no job security and you're replacing not just Aaron Rodgers, but there's a darker shadow behind that, Brett Favre. And then you got to come in and not only be yourself, but what does that even mean? I don't even know who I am yet as a player. Oh, yeah, and we're going to throw you the youngest roster in the NFL. Lead them. And he did. And this year, I really think we're going to see Jordan Love step into that leadership role. But the fact that, and first, too, we got to give Matt LaFleur his flowers. The fact that he pulled this off, 3-6, week 9, the season over, and he pulled it off. He got Jordan Love to be his best self. And it's really, really impressive. The plan probably wasn't for Love to ride the bench for 3 years the same way Rodgers did behind Favre. However, Rodgers responded to Love's drafting with a pair of back-to-back MVPs, and that was kind of what kept Jordan Love at a distance. And if 2 years ago, Aaron Rodgers doesn't get hurt on that Sunday night football game against the Eagles, and Jordan Love comes in and plays the second half of that game and looks really damn good, if that doesn't happen, I don't think the Packers decide to move on from Rodgers. So there's just, you got to give Jordan Love his credit for making the most of the opportunity, similar to Justin Fields having a great practice today because Russell Wilson dealing with a calf strain. Love essentially redshirted his entire rookie season while Rodgers was shelved on the reserve COVID-19 list in November. He made his first career start in Arrowhead against the Chiefs. The Packers lost by a touchdown. But more importantly, I don't think Love even threw a single touchdown pass in that game. I remember that being a low-scoring game. A year after that was when the Eagles' debut happened, and Aaron Rodgers hurt his rib, and that was really the moment. So let me give you the from the moment Rodgers was traded to the Jets, just like Brett Favre, right? This is so weird. Brett Favre gets traded to the Jets, so Aaron Rodgers takes over. Aaron Rodgers traded to the Jets, Jordan Love takes over. I mean, we knew history was repeating itself, but it's like very, very close. I mean, what did Brett Favre get to the AFC Championship game? So I guess we can assume the Jets will get to an AFC Championship game. I mean, at this point, it's to the T repeating itself. But Jordan Love, he took control over the youngest offense in league history. It wasn't just the youngest team in the NFL last year. It was the youngest offense in the history of the NFL. So to the surprise of no one, the Packers were sluggish out of the gate, right? But we couldn't tell right away if it was Jordan Love. We couldn't tell what the issues were. We had an idea, but we really were uncertain about Jordan Love and if he was going to be the guy. And when they eventually caught fire, they won 7 of their final 10 regular season games and secured the number 7 overall seed. And in that span, and this is what's so impressive, Jordan Love completed just south of 69% of his passes for 2,666 yards, 21 touchdowns, and just 3 interceptions. Only Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys threw for more yards and touchdowns, and Dak Prescott led the NFL in all of those, in most of those stats, including like 40-point games. The Cowboys offense was insane last year, and Dak Prescott had his best season. And Bill said, if you say DJ Daniel Jones, I'll never speak to you again. So no wide receiver 1 is okay for other teams, but not the Giants. Yeah. I mean, well, if you have the quarterback figured out, you got to have the quarterback figured out. I don't think the Giants have that guy. Giants are the second youngest team in the NFL. And yes, I'm making this all about my team. Wait, that's what we do here. But yeah, it's always risky throwing a lump sum of cash to a player who's still relatively unproven compared to other guys that get these type of deals. But I think it's a calculated risk, and the Packers had to take it. What are they going to do, right? And imagine you don't pay him and he goes to another team. He's going to, what we saw was our eyes did not deceive us. Jalen Hurts is a great example of this. 2 years ago, Hurts looked just absolutely incredible. I thought he might be the second best quarterback in the league in 2022, right? When he went to the Super Bowl and played the Chiefs and scored 35 points in the Super Bowl. I was so confident that I was so mad about that pass interference call because I knew if the Eagles got the ball back, they were going to score a touchdown and win the game. For those of you that don't know, I'm a Broncos fan, so of course I was cheering for the Eagles in this situation. Our friend Bill here is a Giants fan, so I know that he's not happy about that, but I actually like Jalen Hurts a lot. I liked him as a player. I thought he was a hell of a leader, and he had the Eagles playing really good football. Last year, he was hurt. They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost their defensive coordinator. And people might say, oh, like we don't know what No, we saw what Jalen Hurts is. Just because he has a down season doesn't mean that what we saw the year before that is some kind of fluke or some kind of height that he can't return to. These are the type of special players I'm talking about. When they have, there's a point of no return, right? When a player shows you a certain threshold of talent and just great quarterback play, you throw out there's no chance that this is luck, right? It's like the movie Fever Pitch with the comedian late night show with Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon stars a Red Sox fan in a movie, and he's telling his girl who he's on a date with why he loves baseball so much. And he goes, it's not so crazy like the rest of the world. Like, you can either hit a curveball or you can't, right? There's no luck in it. You either can do it or you can't. Football is like that, right? And Jordan Love can hit a curveball, and we all saw it. Love, Small sample size, one season, 0% concerned about that. 0. Through 7 starts, Rodgers threw 1,668 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions before agreeing to a 5-year extension with the Packers. So the Packers have still seen more from him than they did from Rodgers when they signed him to his first extension on Halloween in 2008. So the Packers have actually, it's all repeating itself. And if you're one of those people out there saying, look, we need Jordan Love to go out there for one more season and have a good season before they give him this kind of money, keep in mind that they had even less of a sample size on Aaron Rodgers when they signed him to his first extension, which is the more of just the same type of behavior coming out of Green Bay. Love this deal for the Packers. I think week 1 is going to be a really, really good game between the Eagles and the Packers. Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love is going to be insane. They should both turn their backs to the cameras at the end of the game and snap a picture. Jordan Love on the left, Jalen Hurts on the right. Love Hurts. Frame that. Bill said Eagles' collapse is directly connected to Big Dan being banned from the sidelines. He kept Sirianni stable, and without him, Sirianni lost it. I know my division. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And that's last year was one of those years where we get reminded how important coordinators are. And especially you look at how good those coordinators did too on their new teams. The Eagles were lost last season. And that I don't think it had much to do with Jalen Hurts. And plus he was hurt. Expect Jalen Hurts to have a bounce back season if you're on fantasy, right? Because this is why I love fantasy football, is because people get so locked on the previous year. Lamar Jackson will go, number 1, and Patrick Mahomes and all that. But somebody like Jalen Hurts is a really good fantasy football target because it's somebody that has the ceiling to be the second, first, third best quarterback. But because of last season, he's off the radar for a lot of people. Calvin Ridley is somebody like that. He didn't do anything for Jags. Why would he do something now for the Titans? I don't know, because they have a really good offensive play caller and they added a lot of weapons like Tony Pollard, and they still have DeAndre Hopkins. The Titans are loading up, it seems like, to have a surprising season. So if you can get ahead of these curves in a similar way that the Packers got ahead of Jordan Love, that's how you can win some of your championships. So Jordan Love is the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. And I have the list right here. So number 1 is going to be Jordan Love, and he's tied with Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, who signed his contract recently. Then you have Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson. Actually, this isn't updated because Tua is not on here. And Tua, I believe, is the 5th highest paid quarterback. Let's see if they updated this list yet. No, this isn't updated either. I had it. Oh, it was on Over the Cap. Overthecap.com is where I normally pull my data from because they update it in real time. And yeah, they did update it. I'm on it right now. So when I go down the list, do I think that Jordan Love deserves top money? Well, it's not just about whether he deserves top money. It's the fact that if you're getting a new contract, you have to reset the market. And we just talked about this earlier, where I think certain quarterbacks, they deserve to reset the market. And certain quarterbacks get to do it by default. Like, should Tua Tagovailoa almost reset the market by $2 million per year? Like, is he better than Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert? Is he better than Jared Goff? I personally, I don't think so. I really don't. And there's a lot of other weird things going on right now, like Mahomes' contract, which was so good a while ago. I mean, if I'm Mahomes, I'm like, hey, I think it's time to restructure. My 40, I mean, you got quarterbacks making 10 million more per year than me. This isn't pennies. This is $10 million. I mean, Tyreek Hill was the highest paid wide receiver. Justin Jefferson gets his money. And then Tyreek Hill comes out saying, it made me feel bad seeing, like, I want to restructure my contract. I need to be the highest paid wide receiver. And Mahomes has just been quietly watching all these deals get done. And you got to think at some point he's going to, unless he's going with the Tom Brady approach, where it's like, I don't want to be the highest paid. I want the team to be able to have extra money. I want rings. I mean, at what point is $45 million a year just enough money? Like, there's nothing I want that I can't have besides more Super Bowl rings. And I can have that if I don't prioritize being the highest paid quarterback. I would like to hear Mahomes' thoughts on that. I don't know if it's been asked to him about, I would assume that with all of these quarterbacks getting this money that it would come up in a presser, but I haven't seen an article on it. Bill said, I use Spot Track is over the cap better. I like over the cap. I use it just because it's what I know. Bill said Giants fans freaked out over Daniel Jones getting $40 million per year. Yeah. I mean, $40 million a year. He's making $5 million less than Patrick Mahomes. Crazy. 17th on the list, too. 17th on the list. I'll give you some of my guys that I think are getting really good value right now. I think the Commanders are in a window right now with Jaden Daniels. Okay, because they're paying Jaden Daniels less than $10 million a year. I think that they need to call the 49ers, offer whatever it takes to get Brandon Ayuk in low J. Because if you have Brandon Ayuk and Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin, and they brought in Austin Eckler, and Jaden Daniels, I expect to be the best quarterback out of this class. I would say that they're in a window right now if Dan Quinn can take care of the defense and they can keep that offense rolling, because they not Kellen Moore. He's with the Eagles. Who's the offensive coordinator for the Commanders? It's somebody that I'm going to be pissed when I see it. OC. Oh, Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah, I was going to say it's somebody proven. Yeah, so look, the Commanders are in a really good situation. Of course, you got to talk about the Texans. $9 million a year for CJ Stroud. That's crazy. $9 million for CJ Stroud. Hopefully Bo Nix works out for us, in which case he'll be underpaid as well. But you're right. I mean, as you go down this list, there's fewer teams that are in a great situation. Let me give you a team that's in a bad situation. The Cowboys, right? Because you're paying Dak Prescott $40 million a year. You're not seeing the postseason results, even though he's putting together great regular seasons. And now he wants to be paid again. It's time to pay him again. So do you reset the market? How does that look on a storyline? Dak Prescott is now the highest paid quarterback. I mean, the jokes would rain down. If anything, though, Cowboy fans are wondering, hey, what's the deal with all these quarterbacks getting all this money, and yet we can't get anything done on our end, right? And the incompetence of that organization is fully on display. The Cowboys have a lot of stuff to work out, and including whether they're going to keep Micah Parsons or CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott, or is it possible to keep all three? 3 days ago, there was a story coming out that Jerry Jones won't take a paternity test while he's in a settlement about a woman who publicly said that he was the father. There's just a lot of weird stuff going on with the Cowboys. Dak Prescott's future uncertain beyond 2024. And if he, by the way, the Cowboys just kicked off their first practice at training camp in Oxnard, California. When, for those of you that don't know, I was in the military, got in an accident, went into the Wounded Warrior program, competed in the Warrior Games. We call it trials. It's like the Olympics. You go to trials and then you have the games. Our trials was held in Oxnard, California. So I've been to Oxnard, California, and we stayed there for, was it like 2 weeks I was there? No, it was 1 week, one full week. And I go down, I get my coffee in the morning. I'm walking down the hallway and I see a Dallas Cowboys jersey framed on the wall. No shit. I was staying at the hotel that the Cowboys stayed at to do their off-season training. And I went and I asked, I was like, "Did the Cowboys practice here?" And they're like, "Yeah." Guys, it wasn't like a 5-star hotel. It just was a regular, like, kind of dorm style, one room on top, one room on the bottom, a little kitchen. It was not what I would expect the Dallas Cowboys to be. A field in the, off in the distance, like, that wasn't special at all. But I guess that's what they want. They want to get away from the spotlight in practice, in freedom. But I was blown away. So anyway, when the Cowboys, when I was seeing that they kicked off their training camp in Oxnard, California, I was like, I actually know exactly where they're at, which is funny because I don't know where any of these teams practice their training camp, like specifically besides the Cowboys. So about the deal, Jerry Jones said, "I don't think that this will be his last year with the Cowboys at all." That's what Jerry Jones said at the introductory training camp press conference yesterday. Prescott's initial remarks when he was asked about Jones's comments at his own training camp press conference invoked former Seahawks Pro Bowl running back Marshawn Lynch. "I'm just here so I don't get fined," Prescott joked on Thursday with the media. He then became serious and pragmatically expressed some deeper thoughts on the topic of his contract negotiations. "I say it's a two-way street. They have wants, I have wants. This is a business, and I obviously want to be here talking about growing up. This is where I became a man, but at the end of the day, it is a business." After pausing for a moment, probably to collect his thoughts and emotions, he took a quick glance at the Cowboys PR staff at his press conference. The quarterback placed some pressure on Jones and the Cowboys, pointing out that plenty of great quarterbacks that he grew up watching eventually played for other teams besides the one they originally established a legacy with. So he looks over, a little serious, and then when he comes back, he goes, "I'm going to say it. I want to be here. But when you look up all the great quarterbacks I've watched, they've played for other teams. So my point in saying that is that it's not something to fear. That may be a reality for me one day. Be where your feet are. Make the most of it. Be confident in yourself. Make the team better. I love my teammates. I love the locker room. I love everything about being out here in Oxnard and being a Dallas Cowboy. So that's what allows me to be free and focused." Dak Prescott is turning 31 years old in 3 days. And he saw his love for football develop in the 1990s and the 2000s, in the 2010s. He could be thinking about how Colts legend Peyton Manning finished with my Denver Broncos, or Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Bucks, or Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers with the Jets or the Vikings, or like, it's becoming the norm, actually. And when you think about players that play in one place their whole career, that's far and few between. Like, there's just not that many examples of that happening. I'm trying to think of an active player right now. Kirk Cousins is on his third team. You got Matthew Stafford on his second team. Oh, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is probably going to be a Chief until the very end. But we thought Tom Brady would be I don't know. I could see Mahomes being a Chief all the way to the end. Josh Allen, a Bill to the end. Lamar Jackson, a Raven. Justin Herbert, a Charger. I guess it is true. There's quite a few examples. Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, even Jalen Hurts probably. Okay, I take it back. I mean, it's still early to say like, oh, all these guys are gonna. I mean, we'll see what happens at the end of they're all under contract right now for about 4-5 more years. So we'll see what happens, but it's true. But that switch, I would say, it doesn't happen at 32. It happens around 35, 34. So I don't feel like Dak's time with the Cowboys, he's turning 31. I think they could give him a 2-year deal. If I was the Cowboys, honestly, that's what I would do. I would give him a 2-year deal, even if I had to pay him $50 million, $55 million, whatever it is. Give him a 2-year $100 million deal. That's what Aaron Rodgers got after his MVP season. And give Prescott something like that and be like, look, go win us a Super Bowl, and then we'll keep you rolling. But the Cowboys just, they always find a way to screw these things up. And it does make sense for Jerry Jones to strongly desire for Prescott to stay on the team, because last year he looked like one of the best quarterbacks in the league in the game's most important position. And really, there's just no other option right now. Plenty of Cowboy fans are now likely praying for the miracle that Jones can get a move on with that contract that, had it been done in March, could have opened up more cap space for the rest of the roster and beyond. But now with these new deals that are coming up, and you got to think Dak Prescott's sitting back like, let them all get paid. We pump those numbers up. And Jerry Jones says, I know that I've had a lot of mistakes in these years, but the same guy's making this decision that has the Cowboys and really got there by the skin of my teeth. It was a miracle that I was able to pull it off, a miracle. But the same imagination, the same risk-taking, the same taking risks about being pragmatic, being inconsistent, sometimes looking like you're a Mississippi riverboat gambler, and sometimes looking like you're trying to guard the national ball. These inconsistencies are how we got here. Look, honestly, I don't even know what that means. Jerry Jones is saying, I guess, that he's had good moments and bad moments. Not sure what to make out of that. But what I do know is that every single quarterback that gets paid does seem to make it a little less likely that Dak Prescott's going to be paid with the Cowboys. His future beyond this year. I don't know if Dak Prescott would hold out, because I would say if you're the Cowboys, don't worry about a deal. If you're really worried about Dak Prescott and if he's worth that kind of money, then let him play the 2024 season and earn a future contract. But like I said, he was an MVP candidate last year. Why does he have to earn something just because he had a shitty game in the playoffs? I mean, arguably, Cowboys have had a lot of shitty games in the playoffs, right? Tony Romo had his moments. I don't know. There's just something that's just a little off with the Cowboys. It's like they're almost really, really, really good, and then they're just not for some reason. It's like in Bruce Almighty, where he's like, there's this anti-Bruce barrier I can't get past. There's this Cowboy thing that the Cowboys cannot get past. And I've heard it my whole life. I've seen it my whole life. I'm turning 30 next week. But I never knew what it was. People say it's Jerry Jones and his need to be in control of the team and not relinquish some of those duties to maybe more capable younger people. Some people say it's the fact that Jerry Jones always needs to bring in a coach that he has control over, right? And what they really need is a coach that can command everybody and keep Jerry Jones in his place. Well, the Cowboys had that. They had that, and in Bill Parcells, and Jerry Jones fired him. And since then, it's been guys that that don't really have that leverage against Jerry Jones. And what I think is if Mike McCarthy doesn't work out this year, and I think working out just means win a playoff game, I think you're looking at Bill Belichick potentially coming in, which would be a move that would help, I think, the Cowboys, this situation where they need a head coach that can tell Jerry Jones to shut the up, stay over there, let the coaches coach. You're not a coach. You can be in the draft meetings, you can be on the phone call when we make our selections, but I'm running the franchise. And that might just be what they need, because one thing we know about Belichick is there's no anti-Bill Belichick barrier he can't get past. Belichick won Super Bowls. That's what the Cowboys really do need. And Bill says, Dak is good and he's a good person. He's just going to get more expensive, and I don't mind that as a Giants fan. And Bill says, I know a good pizza place near Oxnard. I wish I would have known about it when I was there. And this is the comment he makes here. Jerry and Bill would not get along. They would not. And look, I can't really argue with that. I don't think that they would either, but I think that's what they need. So the other deal that happened today was Tua Tagovailoa, and we're going to kind of move into that deal here before we wrap this up. So Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins agreed to a 4-year deal as well. This one worth $212.4 million. And the Dolphins and Tua are in business long term now, 4 years, up until 2029. The Fins have agreed to this deal today, reported by Ian Rapoport. The $53.1 million per year new money extension is the second largest 4-year agreement in NFL history, coming in a shade over Jared Goff's $53 million deal with 53.1. So yeah, just a shade, only $100,000. Only most people takes like 2-3 years to make that. Just a shade. And then just behind the $55 million per year on Jordan Love's 4-year contract and Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence's 5-year contracts. The deal includes incentive based on playoff wins and performances that can take his pay up to $55.35 million per year. What would be a maximum value of $221.4 million. I love this. Because if you're having an honest conversation in the Dolphins room, you're going, Tua, we don't think that you're the best quarterback in the NFL. We don't think you should be paid like the best quarterback in the NFL. However, if you prove us wrong with playoff incentives, meaning you go and you actually win playoff games for this franchise, we will make sure that you're the highest paid quarterback in the league. So we're not offering you $20 million. We're giving you 53, right? But out of principle, can you earn that other two? Can you earn that 55? Because we're kind of taking a big step of faith here with the 53. But if you want to be the highest paid quarterback, prove it. I love that. Especially for Tua specifically. Tua participated in his first couple of days of training camp, but was not exciting at all, really. And then there was a lot of hold-ins going on. He was just waiting for this deal to get done, right? Negotiations were on the move. We kind of knew that. I actually saw somebody tweeted something that was like, NFL Insider reports that there's going to be another record-breaking quarterback deal that is about to get done. And I thought it was Jordan Love, right? And then today I get the Tua news and I'm like, holy crap. I didn't really think Tua was going to get paid this offseason. So he was the number 5 overall pick. entering his 5th year and final year of his rookie contract. He was actually getting paid not not very well when you think about leading the NFL in passing yards. He was getting $7.5 million a year. Jacoby Brissett is getting paid more than that. Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Sam Darnold, Gardner Minshew. Like, no, these guys shouldn't get paid more than Tua. Did they jump the gun a little bit and overpay him? They might not have had a choice. That's the whole thing. Despite outside questions about Tua's future in Miami, the general manager, Chris Greer, and the coaching staff never wavered in their hopes of locking the former Alabama star down, and they knew that they were going to get him. They were going to offer him a long-term, big money deal, and we, the people, debated whether he should or not, but the Dolphins it seems like never really contemplated letting him go or letting him walk. Since McDaniels took over Miami, Tua has taken off. In the past 2 years, he's ranked 2nd in the NFL in passing yards per attempt and passer rating, 102.9, 4th in total passing yards, and 5th in passing touchdowns, 54. So he's got, since Mike McDaniel took over Miami, which is 2 full seasons, Tua has almost as many touchdown passes as Manning had in 2013. What a flex. But really, I got to correct myself on something. I said earlier that Tua throws the ball 5 yards to, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They get so much yards after the catch that it inflates the stat book. I guess I was wrong, and that's okay. We can be wrong if we're willing to admit it, because it says right here that Tua ranks 2nd in the NFL in pass yards per attempt with 8.5. So that completely dismantles my previous way of thinking. Although that does happen sometimes. It's clearly not the case all the time. And the Dolphins have scored 27.6 points per game with Tua on the field and only 16.3 in the 4 games that Tua missed. And I say, okay, that's another way to tell. I said this about Jordan Love, right? Make him miss you when you're gone. But I'm not going to look too deep into the 16.3 points per game in the 4 games that Tua missed, because the starts came from Skylar Thompson and Teddy Bridgewater. Let's be real. Teddy Bridgewater's all right, but Skylar Thompson, not ideal. I don't even think he's in the NFL right now. He might be somewhere, but no idea where. So, injuries, though, that was the major concern about Tua. Injuries rattled Tua in his, of course, you had the really bad multiple concussion season. In 2023, he showed his ability to stay healthy. And that was important because that was Tua's first season healthy and playing all 17 games. And while he played his first season, he led the NFL in passing yards, and he made a really good case. Like, hey, when I'm on the field, I'm really good. But it's almost like Joe Burrow. You have the same thing. Joe, totally different, but Joe Burrow dealing with the injuries. It's like, look, you can be really, really great, but if you can't consistently be on the field, you don't do us any good, especially when you cost $55 million a year. It's not like we can afford, a better roster while you're hurt. We're screwed. We put all of our eggs in one basket. That's what happens when you pay a quarterback over $50 million a year. If you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, you would like that basket to have a low chance of injury. And the truth of the matter is, Tua is an injury risk. He did the jiu-jitsu in the offseason last year to learn how to fall, which I get, and I think that's great. And I played football, so I know that there is such thing as falling well, not falling. That's the problem with getting older. You don't know how to fall well anymore. I went roller skating yesterday, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to go. I haven't gone roller skating since my leg incident, so I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I used to roller skate all the time. We'd go to the roller skating rink on Friday nights and go into the dance room. I remember this girl who had a LaDainian Tomlinson throwback jersey on with these white shorts, teenager stuff. But I used to skate. I knew how to skate. And I got the skates on and I'm like running in place. I'm like, what the hell happened? I couldn't tell. I was like, was I rollerblading? I was like, I'm pretty sure I was roller skating. It was a roller skate rank. And then, it's like you fall and it's like way more painful and way more awkward. And I know this for a fact because the kids, I was the only adult on the roller skating rink. And the kids that were on there, dude, they were falling hard. And I was like, are you okay? And they just hopped right back up. And I'm like, dude, if I fell like that, I would probably tear an ACL. Like you got to fall well. All right. So Tua, whatever he did in the offseason last year with the jiu-jitsu instructor, it worked. It worked, but it's still only one season. You're taking a risk. You're taking a risk. The Dolphins are. Tua is the case example for the Guardian helmet covers that should exist, as ugly as they are. There's never a reason to wear those. Those are so ugly. I just don't understand why they wear them. I mean, you're wearing them in practice, but they're not even allowed to hit the quarterback anyway. I mean, if anything, you'd wear them in the game, but not in the off season. They wear them in the off season, but not in the game. I'm just saying the logic doesn't make any sense to me. But they are. You are right. They are hideous. They are so bad. But hopefully they keep them healthy. All right. So Tua Tagovailoa, $212.4 million. Jordan Love, highest paid quarterback in NFL history. These new deals have been really, really shocking. I thought Jordan Love would get his contract, but I didn't think it was going to happen a couple hours after Tua got his. And Bill, well, the kids didn't have their legumes blown off, so there's that. That's true, but I can't tell if that's what it is, or if I'm just going through the natural. What do you call it when your body just starts breaking down because of age? I don't think that's what it is, but I definitely lost a lot of stability after that accident, though. So that might be definitely a fact. It's definitely a factor. It's definitely a factor. Lamar Jackson was forced to miss another practice. And what's funny is the NFL sent an insider to the Ravens practice facility, and Lamar Jackson didn't even play. And he went and reported. He's like, well, Lamar Jackson didn't play, so I came here for nothing. Hops in a plane and then flies to Pittsburgh. They're like, we'll go to Pittsburgh. He goes to Pittsburgh, wakes up. Russell Wilson's got a leg cramp. Russell Wilson's not playing. So he goes back and he's like, okay, I'm pretty soon I'm going to not get invited to any team because they're going to be worried that they're going to lose their franchise quarterback. Like, what the hell is going on with this? Well, Lamar Jackson started that whole entire thing. The reigning offense player, reigning MVP. He missed Friday's practice. Following a brief return in Wednesday's session, he has now missed 4 of the team's first 5 practices. Now, people in the media, especially in July when they're bored, they go, is this something we should be worried about? So dumb. Such a dumb conversation. No, I'm just giving you the news. I'm not trying to make it more exciting. Head coach John Harbaugh isn't alarmed, underscoring that it's a sickness that his quarterback is working through. I mean, he's fighting through an illness, working with our doctors, doing all the tests, even more tests to make sure that we've got everything covered. And I'm confident he'll be back pretty soon. It's just unpredictable. I mean, you guys have been sick before. Sometimes it's not easy. So that's what we're dealing with. Lamar Jackson is sick, right? And it seems to be a bad cold. And honestly, a lot of people out there, you guys get sick every year, maybe, or maybe once every 2 years. I don't get sick very often. I got sick last year in October. It's like the first time I was sick in a long time. I remember I was streaming, and towards the end of the stream, I felt myself getting sick. It was like 3 hours after, I was like sick, shaking, sweating. So, um, if you have to go through that one sickness per year, wouldn't you want it to be in the first 5 practices? I mean, ideally, it would have happened 2 months ago, but this seems like his fall sick, right? He's gonna be good now. So, Lamar Jackson, no worries about that, but I just wanted to let you know that Lamar Jackson has missed 4 of the first 5 practices, and the AFC and how tough it's gonna be, whether you're talking about the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Browns, I mean, the Texans, the Jags, I think will be good. The Colts should be good with Anthony Richardson. The Bills, the Dolphins, all these teams in the AFC is insane. Prior to the Kansas City Chiefs claiming their second Super Bowl in a row, the AFC boasted 7 teams with double-digit wins in 2023, including 3 from the AFC North. There were 11 teams in the conference that had a winning record. Overall, with the Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, and Buffalo Bills having emerged as heavyweights. Among those owning double-digit victories and a playoff berth were Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns. For the Browns to return to the postseason and move up, Garrett realizes that they must run in a not. Okay. Myles Garrett knows that it's going to be very, very difficult to have a better season than they had last year. There's a lot of things that go into this, but the biggest factor, in his opinion, is that the AFC house is a slaughterhouse. And this is his exact words. It's a slaughterhouse over in the AFC. Garrett told reporters on Friday. It's so funny. A slaughterhouse. There was what was the word? Bloodbath. All the media kept saying, "Oh, Trump's saying bloodbath. It's going to be a bloodbath. Bloodbath. What is this bloodbath?" It's like people talk like this all the time. Imagine if he said it's a slaughterhouse. It's going to be a slaughterhouse. Anyway, it's a slaughterhouse over in the AFC, Garrett told reporters on Friday. Guys who come out of it are usually the top dog in the NFL, so we look forward to it, especially in our division, which I think undisputedly the NFC North has to be the most difficult division. The AFC West might be really tough with the Broncos, but the AFC North is going to be really difficult. And Bill says, "You're still young. I'm 56, so enjoy it while you can." I'm trying. Also, Hard Knocks reminded me Giants head coach Brian Dable and I have the same birthday. That is weird. I wish I had the same birthday as Sean Payton, but I would want him to have my birthday. I wouldn't want his. I love my birthday, August 5th. I don't know. There's something to it. I don't know. It might be because it's my birthday, but I just love the way it looks. It's also Ocho Cinco. Ocho Cinco. 8-5. Anyway, the Browns have late season showdowns with the Chiefs in week 15, the Dolphins week 17. You can circle those on your calendar. But as noted by Garrett, they need to look no further than their own division for a collection of difficult games. The first place Ravens finished 13-4, the Browns 11-6, the Steelers 10-7, and the Bengals 9-8 without Joe Burrow. Each had a winning record, marking the first time in NFL history a division had all of its members finish with an above 500 record. That quietly happened. I knew they were good. I didn't realize that part. We know that it's going to be gritty, grimy. It's going to be tough. Every AFC North game, said Gary, whose Browns went 3-3 in the division last year. Surprisingly, the Steelers went 5-1 in the division last year. In 2024, the AFC North will be televised as well, with HBO's Hard Knocks in season devoted to the division as a whole. Really excited to see this new division Hard Knocks, especially once these teams start playing each other. Following 7 seasons, 5 Pro Bowls, and 3 All-Pro accolades, Garrett knows well about the battles in the trenches. For the slaughterhouse, 4 is the AFC North and beyond. He was voted the Defensive Player of the Year, probably should have gone to TJ Watt, for the first time last season, letting his astounding efforts despite drawing regular double teams in. We get it. Garrett is Myles Garrett is really good. But yeah, I mean, the AFC is definitely going to be tough. And normally I would say, oh, it's easily going to be tougher than the NFC. But I don't know if you can say that anymore. The Cowboys, the Niners, the Lions, the Packers, the Eagles. Is it just me, or is the NFL getting more difficult? Are there more great teams right now than there's ever been in the history of the NFL? Or does it just feel that way? Honestly, that's a question. You guys can write in the comments what you guys think. Bill, I was born on Easter 1968, so technically I was the second. I am the second coming of Jesus. Joking, obviously, that's hilarious. I didn't know that. Easter. Wow, that is actually really cool. My son was born April 23rd, and he was born at 6:47. No, 6:49. It was 6:49. 6:49 a.m., which was 1 minute after the sunrise. So the sun rose at 6:48, and he was born 1 minute later. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think about all of this. The last thing, the Detroit Lions. I mentioned this on my chives on the Only Football, but the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell had an interesting guest on the field today, and a lot of people aren't too happy about it. It's Hulk Hogan. He visits the Detroit Lions camp, says Coach Dan Campbell missed his calling as a wrestler. He probably missed his calling, Hogan said Thursday during a visit. He should have been a pro wrestler, and he even gave him a nickname for Campbell. He said his name would have been Dirty Dan. No, I'm Dirty Dan. I'm Dirty Dan. SpongeBob reference. Probably nobody will get it. But it's Pinhead and Dirty Dan. Campbell, honestly, people were mad about this. They said I lost some respect for Dan, just because of the RNC thing that Hulk Hogan just did. We ripped off his shirt. But honestly, that's kind of lame. People should be allowed to have whoever they want to come over. Like, think about it. If it was somebody that was at a Democratic convention, right? That's got to be okay too. Like, it does. You don't not like somebody just because they're what they believe. Right? Your beliefs are personal. Right? That should be like totally off the table. Well, everything that we've learned about Dan Campbell so far is that Benny's a really good guy. He loves his players. He's a man's man. He can also cry. He's everybody's favorite coach. Like, everybody loves him. That shouldn't change just because we don't even know if Campbell, what his beliefs are. He just brought somebody in, and his beliefs, but he brought him in because he's a wrestler, and they're literally like the same person in different bodies. So all the people that are on Twitter, I wanted to make sure I told you guys, come on, back off. Don't lose any respect for Dan Campbell. It's like, come on, let people live. Let people do what they want to do. No one's hurting anybody. It was a fun practice to get the team all jacked up and excited. Day 2 of Lions training camp also drew 2-time Olympic gold medalist Clara Shields, who is moving up weight classes to challenge women's WBC heavyweight champion Vanessa Lepage on Saturday night in Detroit. So there was other guests too, but Hulk Hogan, who's 70 years old, had definitely had a busy July. So he goes to the RNC. Then just a couple days ago, he was spotted chugging a beer with the Hawk Tuah girl, and now he's at the Detroit Lions practice. I mean, this guy is absolutely amazing for 70 years old. I hope that I have his energy at 70. If I have to take testosterone, so be it. But Dan Campbell talks about Jameson Williams throwing up and doesn't disappoint. So Jameson Williams had issues keeping his breakfast down during the first day of training camp. And that happened on Wednesday, and something head coach Dan Campbell had to address with the media on Thursday morning. Williams was spotted early on in practice throwing up multiple times, and he even let one loose after reeling in a touchdown grab on one rep. But that didn't stop him from being one of the team's biggest standouts on day one. When asked about Williams throwing up, Campbell had exactly the answer you'd expect Dan Campbell to have. As long as he keeps making those plays, he can throw up all he wants. One of the plays Campbell's talking about was this long touchdown catch by the Alabama product who beat a pair of defensive backs for what many beat writers called the play of the day. I'm going to show it to you right now. Ooh. Let's look at that one more time. Is this when he throws up? Hold on, let's see what he does. He throws the football. No, he didn't throw up there. But I just wanted to end that on a light note. But thank you guys for watching. Please, if this is your first time ever on this channel, welcome home. We call this channel NFL with Kyle, and everybody watching on Twitter and or X, YouTube, I just want to thank you all for being here for this big news, and make yourself at home. Subscribe if you enjoy it. Hit the like button. And if you didn't like it, don't subscribe and don't hit the like button. But if you do, I would love to continue to grow this channel. A military vet that got out last year. I've always loved the NFL. I've always wanted to do this for a living. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten to that point yet. But I'm going to just continue to put in the work and put in the videos and try to make content that you guys really enjoy. I make funny shorts. I try to make the NFL world of YouTube a better place. And I know there's a lot of great options. So that's why I always thank anybody who decided to be here. And if you're watching this later on, let me know in the comments what you think about Jordan Love and to his deal. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Am I crazy? And as always, you guys can catch me on X at NFL with Kyle. And Bill is always here for me, and I do know it. This guy has single-handedly kept this channel alive, and one day we will both receive the fruits of our labor. I can't thank you enough, Bill. So I hope you guys have a good Friday night. Enjoy the weekend. I'm sure I'll see you guys very soon, maybe even tomorrow. We'll see. All right. You guys have a good night. See ya.